like so fun that I am doing this 2 days in a row, coming on live with my friends. Today I am going to be hanging out with my friend Tim from Tidy Tim, and he happens to be a certified Konmari consultant. I don't know if any of you have read the book or binge watched the series. I definitely binge watched the series last year on Netflix. So if you don't know about the KonMari method, you're about to. I'm going to invite Tim on and we will chat all things, I want to say organization, but it is a little bit more than that. So hold tight. I'm just going to bring him in and we'll get going. All right, he should be here in 2 seconds. Hey!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you so much.
Oh,
So
thank you.
I was just giving a very brief description about what we're chatting about today. I really didn't give too much insight at all. I will leave that to you, but let me introduce you. You are a friend of mine. So this is Tim Lucier. He is is it registered?
Certified.
Certified KonMari consultant, and I have been lucky enough to have him in my house, and we did the entire thing. And I'm gonna say, was that like a year, 2 year, like how, like that was at least a year ago?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was. I think over a year ago. I think it was the spring before last that we did the majority of the work, and then we kind of took the summer off because things were very busy for both of us. And we returned to it with like a couple finishing sessions in the fall.
Absolutely, that's right, yeah. And I am proud to say that I have kept up with so much of what I learned, because it is life-changing. It isn't, it's not a typical have somebody into your house to organize it. You're not doing the work, we're doing the work. So I'm going to pass this over to you, and I would love for you to just explain a little bit, how is it that the KonMari method is different than, you know, me picking up the phone and having somebody come into my house to do the organizing? Like, what is the difference?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's really two questions in there as I hear it. There's one is, how is the KonMari method different from organizing in general, like organizing your own home? And then the other question I hear would be, what's the difference between hiring a home organizer professional to hiring a KonMari consultant? So I can answer both of those definitely. The KonMari method, if you haven't heard of it, inspired by Marie Kondo, written by Marie Kondo in the life-changing magic of tidying up, and featured on the Netflix series Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. It's essentially a series of tried and true guidelines, or a format, if you will, for going through every single item in your home with the intention of asking yourself, does this item spark joy? Which we'll get into in a little bit, but really what you're asking is this item in alignment with the life that I want to be living in moving forward? So really kind of addressing every single one of your possessions on whether it's helping to bring you forward in life, or whether maybe it's holding you back or causing clutter in your home. So yeah, it's basically, it's a format for tidying, but it's also a very introspective process that a lot of people have found very empowering, and that can help you to make clearer decisions in life. And it's something that you can apply not just to your physical items, but to your digital self, to your relationships, to the work that you're doing. So it's really, really expansive, and it is more than just sort of organizing. And then on the flip side, how hiring a KonMari consultant might differ from hiring a home organizer professional would be, essentially, a home organizer is going to come into your home. Now, they may work with you on things in a similar way, and they may provide a certain level of coaching, but in general, their goal is really just to help get your home organized. And they're going to offer a lot of tools in terms of maybe offering some labeling and helping pick out bins and really getting things into place. And it's going to feel very great, but they're not necessarily setting you up for long-term success in terms of taking control of your own clutter as your own personal self. So I see myself less as an organizer and more of a teacher. So I'm kind of coming in to facilitate the process of clearing your home and to guide you along that process and to help out hands-on where it's needed and provide a lot of information and sort of really help with the entire process. But my main goal is to give you the tools to keep it up for the rest of your life so that you're going to be maintaining a happy and healthy home as long as you remember everything that I've tried to impart.
One of the parts in the book, she says that the return, like the rate of repeat clients is like 0 because there's nothing left for her to do, right? So once you've implemented into your life, and for me, it was really changing my perspective. Like I had never thought of the items in my house, and I still think of them like this. I'd never thought of them the way that I do now, right? Like I learned so much, and it really is life-changing. And like you're saying, like you can take that into your relationships, you can take it into, you know, whether it's like the photos on my phone, whether it's the people that I have in my life, it's really whatever sparks joy. And I'm wondering then if we can touch a little bit on, I know that's like been a lot online. Oh, does this spark joy for you? If you can just elaborate on that, what does that mean? Like when they say, does this spark joy?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One thing I do want to say, because you were mentioning in the book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, she mentions that she's had no repeat clients and nobody that's really relapsed and started to live in a cluttered environment again. A little bit of an update since that book was written is that has been the case with a few of her clients and a few people who have tried the method. And really, it's kind of a sign that those folks weren't really absorbing and learning the process as much. They were kind of going through it, but not really personally taking it on. And it's something that we all have to kind of mentally prepare ourselves to take on. But spark joy, that's a thing I've been living by for maybe 3 years now, and it's dramatically changed how I think about my relationships, going shopping, just really anything, how I'm spending my time, what kind of movies I'm deciding to watch in my spare time even. And it's something that's come under fire a lot because people say things like, you know, I need to have a screwdriver in my house, or I need these medications in my house. They don't really spark joy. So it is sort of a concept that I usually invite my clients to elaborate on a little bit. So when you're asking yourself if an item sparks joy and you're picking up an item, say this pen, what you're looking for when you're asking what sparks joy is essentially a physical response that you're going to get from that object. So I've described it before as some people might feel kind of like a little bit of a warmth feeling, or you might feel your smile muscles start to twitch. It's kind of just a physical response to the fact that it's something that you really love. But I would add that there is so much opportunity there to go a little bit further in that those medicines that you take, they might not spark joy for you to take the medicine, but if the medicine helps your overall health and well-being, is that something that sparks joy for you? Or that screwdriver doesn't really spark joy for you, but if it helps you to screw things in without breaking a nail and trying to use your hands, maybe that sparks a little bit of joy. And there are some objects that maybe they definitely don't spark joy, but you might be able to put on your to-do list of, you know what, I really don't like this particular screwdriver. I'd like one that doesn't have a squeaky handle. That would spark more joy for me. So there's definitely different paradigms. And I mentioned earlier that the biggest question you're asking is this object in alignment with the life that I want to be living, who I want to be, where I want to be, moving forward now and in my future?
So then on the other side of that, what if it's not sparking joy? So I'm sorting through my things and I have, books or, a pile of books that no longer are fulfilling. They no longer align with, where my life is going. They're just not doing it for me anymore. What happens then?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing you want to do is kind of accept that if you're moving forward with the KonMari method and you're deciding to have only things that spark joy in your life, then there's not necessarily room for those items that do not spark joy. So we want to express gratitude to those items. And it might be, just because something sparked joy in the past, like we don't have to just throw them away and we don't want to be expressing bad feelings towards these things. So it might be saying, thank you, shirt, for looking so good on me before I spilled sauce all over you and now there's a big stain. Or it might be, thank you for sitting on my bookshelf and inspiring me to one day maybe read you, even though that never happened. Or it could be, thank you for showing me that skinny jeans aren't my style. So you can always find something to be thankful for, I think, in every object. And when we move those objects on, what really we're doing is we're sending the energy of those objects out into the universe so that it can come back to us in other forms. And I mean, the easiest, most physical example of that is if you're able to bring your old clothes to a consignment shop or bring your books to a used bookshop and get a credit or something like that, sell something on eBay, then it very physically comes back to you. But I think even when we're just moving clutter on in any form, it does come back to you energetically.
Right. And and this shows people that really this is so much more than organizing. It's really clearing energy that is no longer serving you and I believe, that's making room for the new, for the stuff that is feeding us and fulfilling whatever it is that we want to receive in our life. So and this is just a small glimpse, of the method or the lifestyle. Now, I only know this because I have experienced the whole process with you. So I know that there is a little bit of a process to the method. I'm wondering if you can just elaborate on that. I know things are done in a specific order. Now, prior to this, I would have it's springtime, right? This is a perfect time for us. We get all excited to start washing windows and clearing things out and getting rid of our winter clothes. And especially now that a lot of us are in quarantine, we have lots of time to be doing these deep cleaning, organizing, sorting things. So typically I would have gone to one room before. So say starting in my bedroom or in my bathroom and just done had a whole entire day in the bathroom clearing everything out, wiping cupboards and stuff like that. But I know from experience that that's not the system that KonMari. So if you could just elaborate on that a little bit to help explain.
Yeah, absolutely. So and this is sort of a process that's been developed by Marie Kondo after years and years of kind of really having an appreciation for decluttering and trying to figure out the most efficient way to do it. And what she learned is that when you tidy by space, so saying sort of, I'm going to tidy out this drawer of assorted things, or I'm going to declutter my room, my bedroom, or my garage. A couple things that can happen are we can get overwhelmed because there's just so many things in that garage, for example. Another thing that might happen is we'll end up moving things from one place to another. So we might decide on new places to put these things without really kind of having that introspective moment of comparing it to similar items and realizing, oh, maybe I don't actually need this item, or maybe this is the version of this item that I most want. So what we recommend with the KonMari method is to tidy by category. And what that means would be as small as that category needs to be. So it could be a really broad category like clothes. And when I work with a client, we're going to take 5 or 6 hours to bring all of your clothes together and pile them on the bed so that you can compare absolutely.
I remember this very well. It was daunting.
Yeah, so you can compare absolutely all your clothes at the same time. And then I'm going to ask you to get your clothes from the gym, get your clothes from the car, just have it all together so we can really deep dive. And so you can see how many pairs of tights you really own, for example, and decide on keeping the best ones. That does seem a little bit daunting if you're at home alone and you're thinking of doing this, which is why you can break that into as many subcategories as you need. So, for example, socks might be a little bit more manageable. Now, you can argue what's the difference between just organizing my sock drawer and organizing socks as a category. And I think when you do it by category, that's inspiring you to go about the house and find any other pairs of your socks that might, for some reason, be stored elsewhere other than your sock drawer, and make the decision to clear them out and kind of decide which ones you're going to keep, and then decide, now all my socks belong together and I'm not keeping 2 extra pairs in the haul, because it just adds a further element of clarity to your organization style. And the process does actually have an order for how we recommend doing the items. So there's 5 broad categories. And they are clothes, books, papers, kimono, which basically means everything in the kitchen sink. And then the 5th and final category would be anything that you find sentimental. And the main reason that there's an order there is based on research and based on experience. Marie Kondo found that it's easier to make decisions about how these things might manifest in joy in our lives. It's easier to make decisions about that sort of thing when it comes to a t-shirt than it is when it comes to a family photo album. So it's kind of ordered based on the easiest things to make decisions about and see if they spark joy come first in the list. So clothes are easiest typically for most people, and then books, and then we can tackle papers, and then you kind of have free reign of the house. But all through that process, you're saving sentimental things for the very end. And when it comes to the subcategories that you can create within those broader categories, like your socks or your t-shirts or your jeans, there doesn't necessarily need to be an order within that, as long as you try to tackle all of your clothes before moving on to books. So it's really the broad categories that matter by order. And there are tons of checklists out there online too, if you don't really know like how you might want to break those subcategories down. And I'll actually have a brand new checklist that'll be available on my website next week.
Amazing.
So really excited to unveil that.
Amazing. I know for myself, so when we did it, I didn't realize how grateful I was that we were doing it in the order we were doing it, because I had a difficult time even with my clothes. You know, I like literally gathered every stitch of sock, underwear, like you and I, like I would hold a pair of underwear and say, you know, did this spark joy? Like we did everything, and I had a difficult time with that. So I can't even imagine if we had started with sentimental items. But by the time we had worked through the entire house and all of the categories, I had become at ease with releasing things. And I mean, sentimental, it's emotional, and I didn't realize how emotional the whole process would be. And I mean, you can attest, like there was things that it was very, very difficult, things that no longer served a purpose, didn't spark joy, and I was just holding on to a lot of things in different categories for like reasons unbeknownst to me. But by the time we got to the sentimental category, I had been prepared to get to that point, and was just so grateful. So, you know, when you're going through family photo albums, or, you know, whatever it is that you put in your sentimental category, and as we went through the categories, we kept we'd get to something and I'd be like, I can't deal with this right now. Obviously, we then were like, this is obviously sentimental. Let's put it in this, you know, we'll deal with that later. So for me, super grateful that that was the order, because I was prepared by the time, you know, we got to baby clothes or whatever it was that I found sentimental. So yeah, really grateful.
And it's not just that it is in a sense that you're getting stronger at being able to say goodbye to some of these things and express gratitude to them. But I don't want to paint the picture that you're desensitizing yourself to the idea of getting rid of things, because it's really, the KonMari method is not it's not about what you're choosing to get rid of. It's really about what you're choosing to keep. So it's really about
I like that.
Yeah, it's really fine-tuning your inner intuition and growing that muscle of being a better decision maker and knowing how to make decisions that are good for you. And I really find that well, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, I don't.
Becoming a better decision maker.
Yeah, that's what it's really all about. It's the things that you're choosing to keep.
So, and for me, it really was. It was a game changer, and you know they call it the life changer, because I do believe truly that it is life changing. So we kind of have an overall umbrella view of what the method looks like. Obviously, there's tons. We can only kind of give a little snippet. There's lots of resources, obviously. And even before you start, they recommend that you read the book.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So even before you start working with a consultant, it is recommended that you read the book. So obviously that's a resource. There's lots online, but then I'm just curious, what is it you mentioned earlier that you have some new resources coming out next week? Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then just obviously, typically you would work with people in the physical form, you know, in their homes, similar to what we did. But now things are a little bit different in the world currently, and we know that they're not going to remain like this. But what, if you could also tell us just a little bit about what it is that you're offering in this crazy time.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of resources, if you are feeling inspired right now and you're thinking, oh, I really want to tackle these items, I think the best possible thing you could do is read Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. It's available in ebook format and audiobook format, so it should be pretty easy to get a hold of without leaving your home. Alternative to that, there are clips of Marie that you can watch on YouTube that really help to explain the whole process, or you could even watch her Netflix series, which I found at times a little bit chaotic in some parts, but for binge watching, it's really fun.
It definitely isn't. I wouldn't say it gives like a real...
it's not a how-to. It doesn't...
I wouldn't say use that as a resource, like if you're looking for entertainment and maybe some ideas once you already know what's going on, but I wouldn't say that that was a real true picture of the process. Yeah.
They chose people that were dealing with a lot of clutter in their lives because it's TV magic, and really this is a method that anybody can employ as a tool, right?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of some other resources, I'm really excited to unveil my official KonMari checklist, which is kind of just helps to break those broad categories into some smaller subcategories. And of course, everybody's home is different, and all of our items are different, and your subcategories are going to be different from mine. But I've tried to find some really simple and universal versions of those subcategories to sort of put on my list. So that'll be on my website in the very near future. I've also got a community group on Facebook that I've started called Tidy Tim's Clutter Clearing Community. And you can find that through my Facebook page, which is Tidy Tim Certified Konmari Consultant. And if you join that group, the purpose of it and my goal of that is to really provide an avenue where people who are undergoing this method can be posting about their progress. They could take a photo of their clothing pile on the bed and say, hey, like, here's what I'm accomplishing today. And really, it's a place for us to cheer each other on through these times when we're kind of feeling isolated. But those of us that are feeling like doing a little bit of decluttering, it's also a place where I hope to be able to answer questions in a kind of public format. So if somebody's struggling with something that they don't mind sharing what they're going through, I can provide an answer for that everybody can see, and it really helps us all. And then in terms of virtual counseling, I was just on a conference call today with about 100 other Konmari consultants around the world. And we were learning that we are now officially authorized to do virtual counseling to help people.
Awesome.
We're doing it anyway, but it's just we've got the all clear to really do that. So I'm very excited to offer maybe some virtual counseling. I figure that I would do those in smaller chunks, so it might be sort of a 45-minute little bit of, we could either work on a very specific subcategory that you're having difficulty with, or we could really chat about creating a purpose and creating an intention for your tidying journey. There are lots of different ways that I can help out with that. And I thought that given the current situation, I would just make those kind of pay what you can. So if you're interested in having 45-minute digital sessions with me, it'll be pay what you can.
That is very generous of you.
Well, I think it's just a great opportunity. This is something that people, if you have the space and time to do it, I know it's not going to be realistic for everybody, but if it's something that calls to you and if you're at home looking for something to do, it could be a really valuable process.
That's
so
amazing.
I want to be able to inspire that.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. So how can we get a hold of you? Obviously, you'll be here. This is your Instagram, your business Instagram that we've got you in on today. Where else can we find you and get a hold of you to set up those Zoom sessions?
Yeah, so all of the information's out on my website at tidytim.ca, or you can also reach me through my social media, which everywhere is also the @ symbol and tidytim.ca.
Perfect. Can you just tell me one more time, what's that? I really like that group you have.
That's Tidy Tim's Clutter Clearing Community.
I like that because I feel like it's really important to have kind of like a community or a group of people who can hold each other accountable. You know, if I say in the morning I'm going to tackle this and I post a picture, well, if I posted that picture and told the group that I'm going to do it, like
yeah, exactly.
It is kind of nice to have a group of people who can help to hold you accountable. So
yeah, and that's the intention behind it. There's about 30 or so folks in there right now, but it's not too active yet because I haven't really done a great job yet of putting out the invitation to really engage on there. But okay. I really would hope to see people posting and sharing and commenting and holding each other accountable. That would be lots of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for showing up to this. I loved it, and I could literally just sit here and talk to you all day about this because it's something that I love.
And we have done that.
And we have done that, you know, probably over a bottle of wine even. So thank you so much for showing up here today. I really appreciate it, and hopefully some people head over and we can get you set up on some Zoom. I think that's just so fabulous. Thank you for offering that. Well,
thank you. This was lots of fun, and I think it's really great that you're doing these Instagram lives to kind of give people a little bit of insight in what they can be doing at home. And
people need something to do, and like we need to put our energy somewhere, right? Like we have the time to be putting our energy somewhere. So like let's just put it in a positive place. So yeah, absolutely. Hopefully somebody took something from this. I'm sure they did.
I hope so.
Thanks for showing up, Tim.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye now.